Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. If you've been keeping track, I am now 3 guitars deep into my own personal guitar showcase where I talk about my own guitars that I've refretted, specifically the set-necked instruments that I own. Today I'll be talking about Amber, my 1996 Gibson Nighthawk Standard. So without further ado, let's get into it. The story about this guitar actually begins quite a few years before I acquired it. Back in 2012, I graduated from university the year before. I was working and living in London and I was long overdue for a holiday. So I took a trip to visit my granduncle, the person who gave me my 1948 Gibson ES350. It's fair to say that my granduncle is very much a man after my own heart. And for that handful of days, we spent a lot of time talking about gear, of which he certainly had some very unique pieces in his own collection. The one that stuck to me was a sunburst Gibson Nighthawk Standard. So very much like this, except that it was a sunburst finish. I was simply perplexed by the guitar the moment he handed it to me. There was the kind of sort of Les Paul silhouette, the parallelogram inlays, right? The slanted bridge pickup, right, which you can see over here, and the 5-way switch. This is all very strange, and on top of that, it had a 25.5-inch scale, which was more a Fender scale than a Gibson scale. What is this all about, right? However, the guitar that he had simply sang. There was nothing like it from what I had experienced before at that point in time. I made a mental note to always keep an eye out for any second-hand Nighthawks that might cross my path, especially since Gibson had already stopped producing them around that period of time. Fast forward to 2016, by that time I had already made the decision to return to Singapore after living and working in London. However, I was still on the lookout for a Nighthawk, to say the least. By sheer luck, one day I was browsing a now defunct classified website, and there was a listing. There was a Gibson guitar for sale, and there was only one very low resolution, poor quality photo of this guitar sitting in its case. So I called up the seller, asked if it was still available, and arranged a viewing the very next day. So the listing caught my eye because of the low price, right? It felt too good to be true. We're talking less than 1,000 Singapore dollars or less than 800 US dollars in 2016. So when I rode up to this seller's house, I was simply hoping to find maybe a beater guitar. Perhaps there was a hipstock repair or something to indicate why the price was so low. Instead, it was all good. Right, there was a fair amount of forward bow to the neck, and the strings were likely 2 years old and were super rusty. But for the price, it was a fantastic fixer-upper with loads of potential. The deal was done, and I took it home with me. After the frets were cleaned and polished, I straightened out the neck via tightening up the truss rod. I put a brand new set of strings on it, set up the guitar, and the guitar actually played really well. I also discovered that it was really resonant. It just has that something special that made me smile whenever I picked it up to play it and really dig into some of those notes. Perhaps comes as no surprise then that this guitar spent one of the longest periods of time being in my possession before getting a refret. As of the recording, we are now in June of 2026. I only finished refretting this guitar 2 months prior. It's also fair to say that the starting point of the ownership also far predates my refretting capability, and I did resist refretting this guitar because there was truly nothing wrong with it. That said, the original saddles did leave something to be desired, so what I have now are solid brass saddles. Truthfully, at that point in time, in 2016, 2017, this was the nicest guitar in the collection. I played it extensively with the various bands that I was in. I brought it up for blues jams and open mics and many other musical adventures, and I did that for a good 2 to 3 years thereabouts. As time went by, unfortunately, I did get distracted by other acquisitions, and Amber, this lovely guitar, eventually got somewhat abandoned in its case. However, in the last year or two, I took it out of the case. Right? I reconnected with it. Having already refretted quite a number of instruments in my collection, I felt like it was now Amber's time to shine once more. So I gave her a refret, and I used some very standard jumbo stainless steel frets. The refret did not change the fact that she sang when played. In fact, she still continues to sing really well. And with that buttery smooth playability that I imbue in all of my stainless steel refrets, I really look forward to unleashing her upon unsuspecting audience. the past, I've heard people say, that doesn't sound like a Gibson, or that's a woman's guitar, mainly because it's the equivalent of a dinky Les Paul, right? And not to mention that this Nighthawk model is also associated with Nancy Wilson, right, of Heart. Here's a question for you. Do you agree with those comments? Do you agree with those sentiments? Let me know in the comment section below. In my next video, I'll be talking about one more Gibson, the one right over there, to round off this 4-guitar showcase series. To get the notifications for that video, please consider subscribing to this channel. And also do like this video if you enjoyed this sort of nerdy content. Please also don't forget to go over to Instagram and follow me at Roomfulofgear. That's all I have for this video. Okay, stay savvy. I'll see you in the next video and take care.